Viewmasters, it's the podcast that we do. Viewmasters, talk about movies that we view. Viewmasters, my friend Eric and me, Joe. Viewmasters, hey, let's start the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Viewmasters, episode 223. The Old Guard. My name is Eric.
My name is Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Hello, Eric.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
Alrighty. I know you're in the middle of Comic-Con, which is apparently happening right now.
Right. Yeah, you know, in some fashion it is happening right now. via pre-recorded panels, largely.
Yeah, that seems weird.
Yeah, you know, I haven't been to any panels myself yet. I've mostly just been, you know, covering other stuff and then talking to people about them. I've got a few on the schedule for tomorrow. But yeah, you know, I imagine it's probably not. It's probably pretty weird.
So, like, what type of stuff have you covered?
I mean, it's mostly just, you know, because we've got a bunch of people that are doing panels, like panel write-ups. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I've been reading over their stuff mostly and just getting it ready to post.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, there's the Oscar Isaac comic that I wrote about earlier is something that I covered. Nobody was in that legendary panel because to be honest, would anybody expect exciting news out of a legendary comics panel?
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, come on. So yeah, you know, stuff like that, but basically just trying to cover stuff that is coming out of panels that people were not in.
All right.
So that's probably the most exciting thing I've seen today.
All right. Well, I mean, it is what day one, day two?
Day one, yeah.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
Thursday or Wednesday is like a half day, and it's mostly just educational stuff. So
right.
So it's, you know, first actual day of the convention.
Right. Which, of course, is not an actual convention.
No, of course.
Yeah.
just all online.
Yeah. I not to brag or anything like that, but I have been invited to an online convention for October.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Along with other guests like Phil Hester and Ron Mars and Judd Winnick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it a Green Lantern specific? Or no, I guess Phil Hester didn't do Green Lantern. He did Green Arrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah. What's the convention?
It's called the SuperCon.
Okay.
SIOUX. PerCon.
Like Sioux Falls.
Sioux Falls.
Sioux City. Gotcha.
Yeah. Actually, I think it is Sioux Falls, correct. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I have no idea what that is going to entail.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Keep me posted.
All right. Especially, you know, being an absolute nobody with nothing to show, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have more to show than I would.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, you have actual stuff that you've done.
Yeah, somewhat. Compared to a Phil Hester, though, I'm pretty minor league. So,
well, I mean, to be fair, most people are pretty minor league compared to Phil Hester.
That's true. That man has been around.
He really has.
Yeah, and he's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a rare combination.
that is
longevity
true.
And quality.
Yeah. Yeah. Has he ever worked with Greg Rucka?
I don't think so. Not that I can remember.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
Huh.
Do they secretly hate each other? Did we just uncover some beef? I don't think we did.
All right. I'd say let's say that happened. But, yeah.
It's enough for a rumor article.
Yeah, there we go. Rich Johnston, when you listen to this episode, remember to credit us.
I mean, he primarily listens to this podcast to get news stories, so we can throw a few more out there while we're talking. Speaking of Greg Rucka,
yeah, it's weird that I brought him up. Yeah.
Oh, that's why you brought him up. Okay. I thought you were genuinely curious.
I mean, I was, but also segued nicely into the movie that we watched.
Right. Well done.
Yeah, I try. This is going almost as well as a Comic-Con online panel.
Almost.
Almost as good as the legendary panel.
I mean, Oscar Isaac was there, so that went pretty well for them.
Well, okay. I mean, yeah, we're not going to get that.
Probably not.
Yeah, no.
Wait, here he is, Oscar Isaac, everybody.
Holy shit.
I'm not even going to attempt to do an Oscar Isaac voice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he really has one, so.
I mean, he has a voice.
I mean, he has a voice, but not a easily imitable voice.
That's true.
Yeah. The Old Guard.
The Old Guard.
Joe?
Yes. Uh-oh.
I would like to take a moment, and if you will allow me, to have... do you remember the show The Critic with John Lovett as the voice of a movie critic?
I remember it very well.
Okay, I would like to take a moment and do a critic-esque summary of what I thought about this movie.
Oh no, okay.
The Old Guard, more like Right Guard, because it stinks.
Ouch. Does Right Guard stink? I thought Right Guard was supposed to protect against stinking.
It's deodorant, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not your fault.
I didn't think it stunk. But I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. For sure.
There are, I honestly, I didn't think it stunk either. I thought it was, I just thought of that joke earlier and, had to say it.
Of course, I understand.
Especially when I found out that, it wasn't going to be a week before I talked about this.
I am glad we were able to fit this in.
Yeah, thanks for opening up your schedule.
Of course. I'm a very busy man.
Because God knows it wasn't on my end that we would have to delay. No, I didn't think it stunk, but oh boy, I did not enjoy this movie.
Yeah, so I read the comic that it's based on, written by Greg Rucka, illustrated by Leandro Fernandez, and I think. Like the comic it's a 5-issue series, and it's it took me like 45 minutes to read. It's just a really tight, sort of breezy action thriller type thing. The movie was not, and I don't know. Like there's stuff that's added that was added to the movie that's not in the comic. I think that was maybe part of what took me out of it.
Okay.
I part of what I like about the comic is its relative simplicity. You've got this group of immortal mercenaries, basically, and they're at risk of being outed, and they're on the run or hunting down the people who want to experiment on them, basically.
Yeah.
And it's a fairly straightforward, action story. There's a few twists in there,
sure,
which were, still in place in the movie. But there's stuff in the movie that I think they try to add to make it more like, no, these guys are superheroes, or just there's even more of their tragic backstory, and that's fine, but ultimately I don't know that it felt like it sort of slowed things down for me to the point that this movie's more than 2 hours long.
Yeah.
It did not need to be more than 2 hours long, in my opinion.
No, it was kind of a drag.
Yeah.
So I watched this movie Tuesday, and Wednesday we had kind of talked a little bit about possibly not doing this week, and I kind of spoiled my opinion of it by saying that I did not want to watch this a second time.
A little bit.
Yeah. So
I knew what to expect coming in.
Yeah. So what I did this morning was I actually read the original comic.
Oh, nice.
Just to see if I had any kind of differing opinion based on the source material. And I also read the sequel comic.
Oh, I haven't read the sequel yet.
Yeah, it I think finished up in May.
Yeah.
It was another 5-issue series. The Old Guard.
Force Multiplied.
That's it, yep. I pretty much had the exact same opinion of the movie as I did the original comic.
Aww.
Which I think just means that no matter what it was, just the concept wasn't going to work for me.
All right.
I found the comic to be kind of just as dull as the movie. And then reading the sequel to it, because Greg Rucka also wrote the screenplay to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a feeling that, while he was doing that, he decided to incorporate some things from the sequel series into the movie.
Okay.
Because some of the stuff that you mentioned as being added into the movie are at play in the sequel.
Okay.
Such as the quasi superhero angle, which is actually one of the aspects of the movie that I liked.
Oh, okay. All right.
But overall, I felt like the movie was just it was definitely too long.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the action scenes were pretty great, but very short and very spaced out.
Yes. Yeah. Few and far between.
Yes.
Is what I would say about those.
I would, yes, I would also use that term, but I didn't.
Yeah, I think maybe if it had done less to try and set up a sequel, I would have liked it more. Like, I feel like the comic sets up a sequel pretty well. The first 5 issues sets up a sequel really well without feeling like it's laying the groundwork for a sequel.
Right.
Whereas there were scenes in the movie where I was like, oh, this is obviously something that's gonna play out in another movie. Right. And then, we get the tag at the end and it was exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, if more effort had been made to make it a standalone thing, I think I would have enjoyed it more. Because also that would have made it, half an hour shorter or whatever.
Sure, yeah. It definitely needed to be tighter. I also feel like, like you mentioned the twist, and I feel like it was telegraphed almost from the beginning.
Okay.
When I read the comic, I did not get that, because it plays out exactly the same. I will say this: the movie and the comic the movie is pretty faithful to the comic.
Yeah, definitely.
Which, I mean, I guess when you have the same guy writing both, obviously. there's going to be as many similarities as possible.
Yeah.
Especially with big budget movies nowadays can do, almost what all comics can do now.
Yeah.
And, for a comic about, a group of people who can't die, it's still not, super fantastical.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they die in pretty normal ways when they do die, and then they just happen to come back from it.
Right. But yeah, I felt like and again, I saw the movie first, and I felt like the twist, and I'll spoil it a little bit, but not entirely. There's a betrayal.
Right.
And I felt like from the jump, like, okay, that's the guy that's going to betray them. And it was. And if I have a friend who gets very critical about things because he can always predict, what's going to happen in a movie, and I'm not that picky.
Yeah.
But when it's something like that, and to catch it as early as I thought I did, that does annoy me. Like, yeah. I don't want to be smarter than the movie that I'm watching.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable.
Yeah. And it doesn't exactly play out, in a tropey way, but it's still fairly predictable. And I think the main suffering that point that I have with the movie is that it is all very predictable.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very predictable. You're absolutely right. I did think, though, because I felt like in the movie, Niall's character was a little stronger than she is in the comic.
Yeah.
From when we meet her, I actually really liked, when she dies and then comes back, the looks that she was getting from all of her fellow Marines. I really liked that part, and I wished that had been, I don't know how much more there is to explore, with those characters, but just sort of, they talk a little bit about isolating themselves from people to avoid getting hurt because, or getting attached to them and then having to watch them die, while they continue to not age.
Right.
But the isolation that they would feel, even being around other people, if they knew the truth, I thought that was something that was really interesting that was not in the comic, that I don't remember being in the comic anyway. So I really liked that idea, and I don't know if that's something that's explored in the sequel or what, but that was a thing in the movie that worked for me, that I wish had been explored a little bit more.
Yeah. It's touched on a little bit more in the sequel, especially with the Niall character. The first series definitely feels she's pretty much just there to have exposition spouted upon her.
Right.
And she's sort of less of a character, and I think in the movie for sure she is more of a rounded character than she is presented in the first series of the comic.
Yeah.
In the comics, she also just pretty much kind of just easily accepts everything that's happening and just goes with, the force of the other characters, Yeah. Whereas, she's presented a little bit as not an antagonist, but she definitely pushes back against, mostly the Charlize Theron character. But she, presents questions and obstacles, that in the comics, she just kind of rolls with everything.
Right. Yeah, she has a little bit more agency in the movie. As I was watching, towards the end, it sort of retroactively occurred to me how much the movie is sort of like The Matrix. Like where Niall is Neo and Andy, Charlize Theron's character, is Morpheus.
Yeah, a little bit.
And just, the sort of storming of the compound that she does on her own primarily there to save Andy. The other ones are there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I started to think about it in those terms, and then I got to, thinking about the tropes, and they all became a lot clearer. So yeah, I don't know that it holds up to a ton of scrutiny.
Yeah. I didn't think of The Matrix, but there's a little bit of Matrixy genetics in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Charlize Theron looks like Trinity.
That's true. That hadn't occurred to me, but she absolutely does.
But I think a major fault of this is that I was constantly reminded of other movies while watching this one.
Yeah.
And not necessarily better movies, because the one that kept occurring to me was Six Underground.
Okay, is that other Netflix movie?
Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
and I think the main thing that just made me keep focusing on it was, it's a big budget Netflix movie with one major star and a whole bunch of people I've never heard of, filmed mostly entirely in Europe and other countries.
All right. I had heard of Chiwetel Ejiofor as well.
Yeah, no, so this one has two.
Thank you. Credit where credit is due.
Yes. And I always enjoy seeing Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah.
And it was very disappointing that he had such a small role in this movie.
Well, he will clearly have a bigger role in the sequel that they have set up pretty specifically at the end.
Yeah, he does have a much bigger role in the sequel comic.
Okay.
But it is pretty much setting up exactly what the movie sets up.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
All right.
It's fine.
Yeah, I didn't think it was bad. I definitely didn't think it was bad. It's very well made. I thought the performances were good and the action is pretty solid. It's just kind of slow.
Yeah. I will say, the movie mostly focuses on the Charlize Theron character, which is Andy, which the comic series mostly focuses on her as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, fine, and she's the A-list actress. But, I spent almost the entire movie wanting to know more about, the other three dudes that she's hanging out with.
Yeah.
And particularly Nikki and Joe, whose actors' names I will never know.
Yeah, I don't know their names either.
I think they are just anonymous actors.
I think their names are Nikki and Joe.
Okay, then. And they have at least one scene in the movie, which I thought was very heartfelt, because they are essentially lovers.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's Joe who gives a very impassioned speech, to a bunch of, bad guys.
Right.
which I read later that apparently when Greg Rucka signed the contract to have this movie made, he stipulated that scene must be in the movie.
Oh, all right.
And it works very well, and it made me really like those characters, and then at the same time just, disappointed by the fact that that's pretty much the only worthwhile scene we get with those guys.
Right. Yeah. Marwan Kenzari is Joe, and Luca Marinelli is Nikki.
All right.
So credit where credit is due. Those two were good in that scene, and I feel like even just sort of the little stuff between them, they have nice interpersonal chemistry throughout the movie.
Yes, they do. I thought, for a movie full of tropes and cardboard cutouts, they were the most well-rounded.
Yeah. Is there more about them? Because I remember even in the comic, they're sort of, we don't learn a lot about maybe any of them, really, other than Andy in the comic. Is there more about them in the sequel?
Not really in the sequel, no.
Okay.
The original comic does expand on all of their backgrounds, I think, a little more than the movie does at all.
Yeah, we see more of their origins in the comic for sure.
But not to any great extent than what is presented in the movie. And it being, well, I mean, movies are visual media too, but comics a little more so we get more visual context of their origins than in the movie, which were pretty much just told. But that's more of a budgetary thing, probably. Right.
Yeah. There's really only a couple of way back historical flashbacks in the movie.
And those are saved for Charlize Theron's character, which, obviously.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, rent some crazy costumes and a horse, you're gonna give it to the A-lister.
Yeah. It makes total sense to me.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if, because I feel like Joe and Nikki have sort of become... I don't know if fan favorite is I guess fan favorites.
Yeah.
I've seen people talking about them on Twitter and stuff. And I knew who they were from the comic already. So I knew what people were talking about basically without having seen the movie. But I wonder if, it would be interesting to see maybe like one-shot stories, about them, the two of them together, or about Andy or any of the others sort of set in the past, as I'm thinking as comics.
Sure.
I think that'd be kind of cool just to flesh them out a little bit more.
I mean, it's a great concept for, spin-offs and one-shots and I mean, you've got thousands of years of history to place these characters in, that, I could easily see, something like that happening, and I think those would definitely be the stories that I would check out more than any of the other characters.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, Andy just did not interest me.
Yeah, she's a little flat.
Yeah. She like to continue to filter it through a comic, funnel. She reminded me of basically a Warren Ellis character, or like if Warren Ellis wrote Wonder Woman. Put aside the Warren Ellis is fucking creep.
Okay.
And just that, his main character that he writes and everything that he writes is, just a bitter shell of a person who hates the world.
Right. Yeah, I haven't read enough Warren Ellis stuff to see that comparison, I think. Like I've read Planetary. I think that's probably the only thing that I've read.
I mean, that character would be Elijah Snow in that one.
Right.
Same with Elijah Snow is Spider Jerusalem is Pete Wisdom is basically any main character who smokes and wears black.
Gotcha. But Elijah Snow wears white. It's a subversion.
Twist.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry that I was disappointed by it. So I'm sorry to hear that you didn't care for it, or even care for the comic. I wonder if you'd have felt differently if you'd read the comic first.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a very good question that we will never know the answer to.
That's true.
I mean, I guess it does say something, though, that it, like, watching the movie made me read the comic, which then made me read the sequel.
That's true. That is something.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't, I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of Greg Rucka's, but, I've read and enjoyed, some of his work in the past.
Sure.
I remember, at least I want to remember, I think he got, like, when I first heard of him was in the No Man's Land era of Batman comics.
Yeah.
And I remember reading some of his stuff there and thinking, wow, that guy is pretty good at doing this Batman thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like shortly after that, didn't he have a run on Detective where like it was colored like in monotone colors?
Yeah, it was like a 3-color thing.
Yeah. And I remember reading and enjoying quite a few of those, and I thought Gotham Central was just fantastic.
Yeah.
But, I think that's all I've really read by him.
Okay.
And I think it's just, I don't know if it's disinterest or just, the concepts of some of the stuff he writes just don't grab me. But, I don't think he's a bad writer. I just, and I guess that's kind of how I felt about The Old Guard, and like why I didn't read it initially when it came out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I also think maybe I thought it was a spinoff from Lazarus.
Yeah, it looks very Lazarus-y.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, like when they all die towards the beginning and then they all get back up. I was like, oh, this is the very first scene of the very first issue of Lazarus right here.
Okay.
Because that's basically exactly what it is like within the first 3 pages or whatever of the first issue of Lazarus, Forever Carlyle is killed, and then there's like a page of her dead, and then on the 3rd page she gets up and kills whoever killed her.
Gotcha.
So yeah, Lazarus is a book that I really like, but it took me some time to get into it. Like I would say I enjoyed it for maybe 12 issues, and then like the 3rd story arc is really when it grabbed me. Like I realized what it was doing.
Okay.
But yeah, even that book is still sort of hard for me to get into because it's all like there's maps.
Yeah.
And it's sort of it's like a sci-fi fantasy type thing, but there's houses and it's maps just turn me off.
I mean, you shut me down at maps, but then when you mentioned houses,
right.
That's like, oh god, like that, and another thing that this movie reminded me of was John Wick a little bit.
Okay.
And I love the first John Wick movie, but John Wick 2 and John Wick 3, they start bringing houses and clans and that kind of bullshit to it, and I'm just like, I'm out.
Yeah, like the beautiful thing about the first John Wick movie is that it's a very straightforward revenge story.
Yep. Don't fuck with man's dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, the mythology of John Wick.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Nope. The
The mythology is he had a dog. They hurt the dog. He was mad.
Yep.
The dog was fine at the end, is what I read.
Yep.
I stopped watching.
Uh-huh.
The dog went to live on a farm upstate. It's all fine.
He's very happy now with his new owners.
Exactly.
Yes.
The old guard.
Yeah, it's fine. One review I read of it was just like, oh, the old guard. This is one of those movies that I'm going to watch now and relatively enjoy. And then in a week when you ask me if I've seen it, I'll say no.
That's fair.
And that is like, the majority of all Netflix original movies.
Right.
Just instantly forgettable.
Yeah.
I did really want to like this, and then I had read, people saying positive things about it, but it just didn't grab me.
Yeah, it's done very well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd probably watch a sequel.
Probably would too, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Netflix got us.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably watch it completely forgetting that I'd ever watched the first one.
There you go.
I kind of wanted at points to point out that, I don't care about anything that's happening because all these characters can't die.
Right.
But then they throw in the whole thing that, occasionally they do die. But it's still not really enough to get me to care. It just felt like there were no stakes to anything.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And the main villain was just kind of wacky.
Yeah, he is really a cartoon character.
Yeah. I know in the comic it's the character's a little bit different. Like he's much more of a macho corporate douche bro.
Mm-hmm.
But here he's just kind of cartoony.
Yeah.
And I don't know the actor, but apparently he was in a Harry Potter movie.
Yes, he was Dudley Dursley.
Okay.
Harry's I guess cousin.
Alrighty.
Yeah, because Harry goes to live with the Dursleys and they're all awful people.
No, okay.
Just cartoonishly awful. So,
Gotcha.
So the fact that he's a cartoon character in this movie didn't surprise me.
The only thing that I recognized him from was he was the armless, legless guy in the segment of the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Oh, wow.
That Liam Neeson, takes him on, he's an actor. He takes him on tour.
Nice. I still have not watched the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Ooh, wow. You should watch it.
I know. I just haven't.
Let me say this. You know my opinion about musicals.
I do. Oh, is it a musical?
No.
Okay.
But it's like 4 short stories or something like that, 4 short films, all written and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen.
Right.
The first one, which features Tim Blake Nelson, is the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and it is a musical, and just that segment, and it is fucking delightful.
Aw, that's awesome.
Like, I have watched just that segment multiple times, because it's fantastic.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, I will watch that at some point for sure.
Yeah, I will not pick it for the show.
Okay.
The old guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More like right guard.
My other thing I was going to say was that, if there's one thing that this movie is successful at doing is teaching you the monotony of being immortal.
It's true. It really is. I would have enjoyed more if that was explored more too. Just how boring it is.
Yep. I mean, you look at it, all these characters, no matter how old they are, they're going around killing people for a living. It's not that boring.
Right. It's true. But when they're not killing people?
Pretty boring, sure.
Pretty boring.
Yeah. Could you imagine how they would have dealt with the quarantine?
Oh, that would have been horrible.
Well, it's a good thing that's over.
Oh, what?
Haven't you heard?
No, I haven't been paying attention.
Oh, okay. Well, you're at a Comic-Con, so...
That's true. I'm cut off from the rest of the world.
So what's bringing you joy, Joe?
Oh, man. Jimmy Olsen's over, which is sad.
Yeah, that's not joyous.
It's not.
Yeah.
I guess Comic-Con is bringing me joy.
Okay.
And just, comics in general.
Comics are good.
I like comics.
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
The Empire story from Marvel has been surprisingly entertaining.
All right.
I read the second issue of that series and then 2 of the tie-ins last night. Because, of course, they gotta have their tie-ins.
Well, sure. It's probably a 30-part epic.
Basically, yeah. I think it got trimmed down some because of the Diamond shutdown, so they scratched some of the books that were planned.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's a big, sprawling, dumb superhero event, and I'm digging it.
But you're not into Sword of X, huh?
It's 10 of swords, thank you.
Whatever.
24 parts.
That's ridiculous.
Over 2 months.
Yep.
Like, if I had to pay money for those, I would be so mad.
So you are advocating pirating comics?
No, not at all. I'm saying if I was an X-Men reader,
okay,
which I'm not.
Yeah,
I would be upset by the amount of money I would have to spend in order to follow that event.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty anti Jonathan Hickman. You mentioned maps and the Lazarus series, and you know what? Another thing that turns me off is fucking graphs.
Yeah.
If you need a graph to tell me a comic book story, you are doing it wrong, sir.
It's all graphics. It's all graphic design.
Sure, yeah.
What's bringing you joy this week?
These aren't necessarily bringing me joy, but I have found a certain peacefulness, using your DC Universe app and watching the late 80s Superboy TV series and the 50s Superman TV series.
That's excellent.
Yeah. The Superboy series, boy, that's not a good show at all.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, but, I watched like 4 episodes earlier today when I got home, so.
Nice.
But,
yeah, I have all 4 seasons of that on DVD.
Of course you do.
Because I make good choices.
Yeah, why not? But I think the thing that is actually bringing me actual real joy is something that I literally discovered this yesterday. And while I will also not advocate piracy, I was left to no other choice. But did you know that there was another spin-off TV series of What We Do in the Shadows?
No.
there is, and it is only available in New Zealand and Australia. And it is called Wellington Paranormal.
What?
And it features the two cops who show up at some point in the What We Do in the Shadows original movie, who are just sort of clueless about everything that's happening.
Right.
And it's like a mockumentary type TV show where they are going around discovering all the sort of paranormal happenings around their little corner of New Zealand.
That sounds amazing.
It's pretty fantastic. I think like 3 episodes were written by Jermaine Clement, and I think he directed 4 of the episodes of the first season. Anyway, there's 2 seasons of it already out.
Okay. Oh yeah, I was going to ask if it's still on the air.
I mean, 3rd season, obviously, to be determined whenever the plague passes.
Right.
But yeah, no, they their 2nd season ended last November, and then they had a Christmas special. And, like other, British television, there's only like 6 episodes per season.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they have been delightful and
that sounds awesome.
Hilarious.
I will have to track that down as well, because that sounds great.
Yeah, and again, I don't really want to advocate piracy, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
If it was attainable via legal means for consumption here, then absolutely.
Yes, I 100% agree with you, sir.
Yeah. I believe you.
That is what I intended.
Of course.
For you to believe me.
Oh, Lord. What movie do you want to watch next week?
Okay, so I've been having some problems trying to figure out a movie.
Uh-oh.
And one popped up into my head, and it won't get out of there. So I'm just gonna float it past you and see if you are willing, because you have seen this before.
Okay.
And I have not.
Okay.
I would like to watch The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I mean,
I've been it's been a few months since I've seen it.
So it's been a while.
So it's been a while, yeah. And I've been curious to watch it again to see how I feel about it with some distance. So yeah, I would totally watch that. Okay.
All right. Because it's been on Disney Plus for a few months now.
Yeah, I think it came on for May 4th, if I remember right.
Well, yeah, so it's been a few months because it's almost fucking August.
Jesus Christ, what?
But yeah, I did not get a chance to see it in theaters, and I've not heard great things, but I might as well wrap up the second trilogy, right?
Yeah,
because there are only 2 Star Wars trilogies.
That's right. Yeah, there's the middle one and the third one are the only Star Wars trilogies.
Yep.
Awesome. I look forward to watching that.
Excellent. All right. If you had vetoed it, I did have something probably as equally stupid, so I'll just save it for my next pick.
Excellent. Love it.
Alrighty then. Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Unlike Session 9, where you don't have to watch the first 8, you might have to watch the first 8 of this one. Because this is the 9th movie in that franchise.
That's true. So get started now.
You know what? I may, leading up to this, do a rewatch.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
Yeah. I mean, I may not, but
yeah.
I also don't have anything else to do the rest of the night.
That's fair. Go for it. You get knocked through, at least one a night for the next week.
Yeah.
Probably 2.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I literally will only watch 6 of them.
All right, then. Yeah, you got this covered.
Because I am not watching episodes 1 through 3.
You should be sure to watch Solo too. It's very important.
Is it?
No, not really.
Okay. Because I've seen that.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
Okay. All right. So
Awesome.
Tune in next week to us bitching about Star Wars.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about Star Wars with you.
Me, the noted not Star Wars fan.
Right. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
Okie dokin. Goodbye.
May the Force be with you.
Thank you for listening to The Viewmasters. You can subscribe to the show directly at view.guttertrash.net or at iTunes and leave us a review. Visit view.guttertrash.net for email information and links to Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you next time on The Viewmasters.